Evening, everybody. This is Dr. Hack, and we're going to continue on with our King's Indian today. Let's do this. So what I'd like to do here is I'd like to look at a setup for white where they put a whole bunch of pawns into the middle of the board. Because we're playing a King's Indian, we're doing this stuff. We're not really stopping them from doing whatever they want. So we're going to have to look at a lot of, kind of setups of whatever they want to do. And this is one of the things they could do. So let's take a look. And again, I searched the internets, far and wide. And I looked for good explanations of this moment in the chess game. And it was, I would say, comparing the difference between a fart in a spacesuit and a fart in scuba gear. I couldn't tell which ones were worse. Now, in their defense, in the other guy's defense, they did do excellent at explaining some things later than this. But this moment, no, right? And one YouTuber, one famous YouTuber, even talked about the constellations in the sky here. It's good for astronomy. It's not good for chess. So here's what you need to know. And I want you to fix your peepers up here for a minute. And look at the squares directly behind. Okay? And that is the place. That is White's kind of staging area. That is the place where he can stick pieces, and you will have a hard time harassing those pieces with your pawns. Because it's behind his pawn structure. It's hard to get pawns through there. So he can kind of arrange his pieces back here, get ready, and make an attack. Good, right? When I describe it that way, maybe we'll even start to have the idea that having more space is better than having less space. Well, any excited gardener will be able to tell you, after they wet their plants, that it takes a lot to maintain your garden if you have more of it. The more you have, the harder to maintain. It's the same with the space on the chessboard. The more you have, the more it takes to maintain it. And if you look at what we really have, the need to attack with black, it's actually bigger. Look at this area here. Because these pawns are kind of attacking all the way up here, right? So in order to break through all of this, we first have to get through this line. Well, okay, that's not so far from our stuff. Now, one thing we need to, first get our handle on before we do that is the idea that if you attack something in chess, like let's say you brought 4 pieces to attack something, and then it moved out of the way, it's kind of like you wasted 4 turns. In order to attack something successfully, it can't be able to move. We have to freeze whatever that thing is in place. If it's a square, it's not moving anyway. That's great. But if it's a piece, it can't move, right? And so we have to make sure if we're going to attack this stuff, we have to make sure it can't move. And there's only one move that we can play that does that, and it's this one. Let's understand why, right? All 3 of these pawn moves don't work very well for white now. So let's try to visualize what happens as each of the pawns moves, right? Let's do this one first. When the E pawn moves forward, it itself becomes a weakness. Because we know when we're looking at tactics that you look at places where you can attack it the same number of times that it's being defended. This is a place where we can attack it the same number of times that it's being defended. So that is a place where if we brought one more attacker, we would be able to take that thing, right? So we can do that. We can start it off by making a weak thing. Now it's attacked 0 and defended 0. Okay, well, that's also weak. It's a hanging piece. And so we can play a move now like this one. Well, if he took it back with his king, that would be too easy for us, wouldn't it? Because now we have lots of things that are not guarded very well, and our knight can fork, a couple of those things. We see the pawn and the pawn. So he's definitely not going to do that. They're wise to us, guys. They're wise guys. So he's going to take the queen with the knight, and then we look at this and we go, okay, did we manage to crush his space? I'm going to say we did, because this is not attacked anymore, right? This is not attacked anymore. There's just a piece there. And really, we've just got this one pawn holding down the fort. And we can even put a piece into his yard if we want to here. And now we're attacking this one, right? And now he's got to do something about it. And now that piece is there for the duration. Whoa, right? Until something kicks it out that's not a pawn. That's crazy. So we can keep breaking that down and keep breaking it down and getting rid of the pawns more and more and more until we realize that his central control is just, it has holes in it. It didn't have holes in it a minute ago, but now it does. That's great. That's exactly what we want, huh? So probably they shouldn't move that pawn. It just crushes their own hopes and dreams. Oh, if we're them, we don't want that for them. Well, we do because they're our opponent, but we don't, we really don't. So let's see what happens if they move this one. That one doesn't look so obvious, does it? There's no weaknesses, nothing really happened. Let's turn the clock back a minute, to this video we released on Sunday. And let's take a look at this square here, because we had all of these squares on this side of the board that we said are now weaker because our bishop can't really reach them anymore. It's missing them. And it's going to take a lot of effort to take care of these. We call them, our own little children over there. We got to take care of. And so when he moves this pawn, that pawn was attacking one of those squares, and now it's not anymore. Well, let's play the what if game for a minute, And here, the what if game is, what if you met your special someone in life, except the only thing wrong with them, they were perfect in every way. And the only thing wrong with them was that they had one, long hair hanging out of their nose all the time. Would that be a game changer for you? No, that's not what this is. The what if game in chess is, what if we were to now to take over all these squares, would white's attack still work? So, if we were to put the pawn out here, it'd be attacking that one. Okay. The rook's now attacking that one. The pawn's now attacking that one. That's 2 better than it was a minute ago. Let's play a random move for white. It could be a bishop or a knight or whatever. And let's put the knight out here. And now the knight and pawn are covering this one, and the knight and pawn are covering this one, and that's like it's kind of like a wow. Things are looking pretty okay here. Sure, right? And you can even, if you want to put this on a computer, maybe you find this check and you say, oh no, he's getting me. What do I do? And then you notice that you can just win the game, so it's fine. There's a pawn here that we can get back. It's okay, guys. We'll be fine. But we look at these squares and we go, hey, we got control of those now. It's going to be much harder for white to attack us over there. And that's kind of what we thought his best plan, or a plan for him, was. That's good. So this d5 move, whenever it happens, what does it leave behind? It leaves behind exactly this square. Let's keep an eye on that later. That's going to happen a lot in this opening. Okay. And then the last one is maybe what if this one moved? Okay. Very similar to what happened when the e-pawn moved. We can kind of get ready to mess up their castling rights, and this time we actually can. This is even worse than the other one, right? The e-pawn move, because the knight doesn't want to capture back, because if he does, he leaves this guy just to be, eaten. So he has to take back with a king. And we look at this position and we go, well, he gave up his castling rights. That's pretty good for us, but that's not great. We still have to think about how we play this. And I still look at the weaknesses. I still look over here and I go, how in the world are we going to, keep this stuff safe? Keep it secret. And the move that I look at more and more as I stare at this is not the computer's move. I actually hate the computer's move to castle because I think this is too weak. I actually like moving the c-pawn. And that keeps the knight out of the game. Remember this square that we had of the knight's potential value. He could have moved up in that square, but now he can't because the pawn's there. He could have attacked our weakness with the bishop's help, but now he can't because that pawn's there. And I think that, now we can just kind of play chess. His space is shredded a little bit. He can't castle anymore. Definitely equal, right? He's not going to come and beat us right now. We can start our attack off. We can go with confidence here. So I think that, all 3 of those pawns are now frozen in place. And that means that we can start to build an attack on them. So what would that attack be? Let's think about that. And for those, King's Indian expert types that wandered into the channel and somehow made it this far into the video, there probably aren't any here, guys, but if they are, they would know that this is the moment in the King's Indian where it branches into a million different directions. And white could play a lot of different ideas starting right now. We're just going to learn the main idea. We're going to learn how to break apart this space to start off here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play normal looking moves for white. And I'm going to remind us that if we're going to try to break open something, if that's our main goal, we do not want our king to be in the middle when that happens. So let's make sure that we're always getting king safety before we start our action. Okay? And then the next thing I want to point to your attention is that this pawn is not going to be the one that does it. We're using that guy to hold back all three of these. So the pawn that we're going to use to attack the center, it has to be either the c pawn or the e pawn. You got no choice there. It's going to be one of those two. And so if we're going to do that, maybe we bring another piece into the middle to help those things happen. Now, you could, if you knew the tactics, you could probably play this e5 move right now. That's a very popular one amongst masters, but to me, it overcomplicates. It doesn't. We don't need to do that to ourselves, guys. You don't have to learn all the tactics on how to get your pawn back once they take it, if they take it, when they probably won't even take it. I don't know. But if we do this one, now we can prepare. Now we're ready to play one of these pawn moves into the game. Perfect. Okay. And now it's our choice. Which pawn are we actually going to throw into the middle? Now, I always look at this and I always think that I would rather do e5, right? I would much rather do this one. But I also know that this bishop, if you let him sit here and aim at all the stuff that we know to be weak on our side of the board, I don't know if it's a good idea or not. So there are lots of ways to take this on. Maybe you chase that guy off before you do it, and then maybe he becomes a pain in the behind and doesn't let you play e5. Well, I don't know. You could try chasing him, but that still doesn't let you play e5. So then you get frustrated and you go to c5. Well, that's fine, guys. This would be a different kind of game. Or maybe we go back here and we say, okay, he got his bishop to a good spot. Let's let it be. Let's go for it. And we try to get him to push this pawn forward, guys. That was our whole point of doing this, was to get these pawns frozen in place long enough that we could do some action to attack them. And now they're completely stuck. Completely stuck. And we start to look at how in the world we get this pawn to move to here now, to start to break things down and get rid of the space and start attacking him. And so we're moving the knight somewhere. So maybe now we do it in this order. Right? And now the pawn's ready to go. So there are lots of ways to do this. And you could also take this moment and you could say, well, what if I just get a handle on the queen side of the board? I know I have to take care of my children over here. What about this move? Because that'll allow my knight to sit here for a while. There are lots and lots and lots of ways to take on this problem. As long as you are attacking it in the end and getting rid of the pawns and making it so that his pieces don't have such an easy job of setting up back here to make the attack, you're doing it right. So I encourage you to be creative, be fluid in your ideas, and try some stuff and see what you think is best. There are many ways to go. I really hope this helps somebody. You guys take care. Bye now.